25-year-old Vladimir Lukonos from Konotop in northeastern Ukraine was working on his computer in his parents' home in the late hours of Saturday, December 5th, 2009. But what started out as a normal evening turned to disaster in an instant when his family heard a deafening bang! Ah!
What's the matter with you?
Shattering the previously relaxed atmosphere of the home. They ran towards the noise as fast as they could and were met with an awful sight. Worse than anything they could have ever imagined. The room was a mess of papers scattered across the floor, and there was a strange stench floating in the air. Amidst the chaos, their eyes were immediately drawn to the unimaginable sight. When his relatives entered the room, they saw that the lower parts of the young man's face had been blown off. An aide to the Konotop police chief told Ukrenews.com.
His what was what?
His jaw was blown right off his face. Vladimir was barely clinging to life, and his family immediately called for an ambulance. But when paramedics arrived, there was nothing more they could do. Even some of our seasoned officers, who have seen a thing or two, even they were pretty badly shaken up by what they found, police spokeswoman Elvira Biganova said. And sadly, it wasn't long before Vladimir Lukonos was dead.
Just dead. Just chilling there, and then jaw exploded and dead? How?
Gum.
What?
You see, on Vladimir's work table, there was a clue sitting amongst the chaos. Gum wrappers. Turns out, Vladimir really liked to chew gum. In fact, those close to him knew that it was more likely for him to be seen in the middle of chomping down on a piece than not. So it's pretty safe to assume that he was, in fact, doing just that when the incident took place.
But come on, bro, really? When has chewing gum ever hurt anyone?
Well, we've actually done a video in the past that focused on a young girl who chewed and swallowed such an excessive amount of gum so often that large clumps of it became lodged in her stomach. She experienced sudden seizures and a deficiency of calcium, magnesium, sodium, and potassium. She passed away in the hospital after falling into a coma from what her doctor said was cerebral hypoxia caused by convulsions and electrolyte depletion. Essentially, her electrolytes were so low that it gave her seizures, and her convulsions cut off oxygen supply to her brain, leading to her death. It's unclear whether this depletion in her essential nutrients and her untimely passing was caused by an excessive amount of the artificial sweeteners within the gum, or if it was due to a blockage caused by the gum that was built up within her stomach. So it wasn't exactly the act of chewing gum itself, but like with anything else, excess chewing and swallowing of gum can be quite dangerous.
Yeah. Don't swallow gum, got it. This has nothing to do with Buddy's face getting blown off, bro. Howard, can gum do something like this?
The act of chewing gum itself has not been known to cause extensive injuries like the ones Vladimir sustained. It does, however, have the potential to cause cavities, tooth decay, and gum disease, especially in gum with high amounts of sugar. It can also cause damage to dental work, such as fillings, crowns, and braces, as well as cause jaw muscle fatigue along with damaging the temporomandibular joint, otherwise known as the TMJ.
Exactly. Last time I checked, bro, gum doesn't explode.
No, it's not really known for its incendiary properties, is it?
Oh, well then it wasn't just the gum, now was it? There must have been something else going on.
Indeed. His family actually noted that he had a pretty strange, though not completely unheard of, habit to go along with his constant compulsion to chew gum. We all know that bubble gum doesn't last forever. Eventually, after a certain period of time, the gum loses its taste and becomes denser. Usually, at this point, people just spit out the gum, put it in the garbage, and move on with their life. But others, like Vladimir, take a different approach. At this point, it is important to make note of something else that was sitting on his desk on the night of the explosion. A little bag filled with a white, powdery substance.
That's incredibly sus. Is it the white powdery substance I'm thinking of?
Are you thinking of citric acid?
No, I was not.
Well, citric acid is featured in the ingredient lists of many common household products. In food and drink, it preserves flavor, while in cosmetics and personal care products, it prolongs shelf life and even improves skin smoothness. Citric acid is also used in household cleaners to remove stains and hard water buildup, like in coffee machines. In disinfectants to kill bacteria and viruses, and in medicines to treat conditions like kidney stones and metabolic acidosis. It's a colorless and odorless naturally occurring compound found in citrus fruits like lemons, limes, oranges, and even berries, giving them their characteristic tart taste. It was first discovered by a Swedish researcher by the name of Carl Wilhelm Scheele in 1784. But as the years went on and its uses grew, researchers in the early 1900s discovered that the black mold Aspergillus niger could produce citric acid when it feeds on sugar, and synthetic production of it really took off.
Wait, what? I thought black mold was like really bad for you.
Yes, if you find it in your home and you're actively breathing in black mold from your environment, that's not good, and you should get that taken care of ASAP. But that being said, the citric acid that is derived from this specific mold is mostly okay to consume.
Mostly?
Well, there are some risks that have been reported in connection to synthetically made citric acid, such as swollen, stiff joints, muscle and stomach pain, and even shortness of breath. But it hasn't been proven to be a direct result of the citric acid itself and is more likely caused by the mold residue from the production process. These symptoms are known to be rare, and citric acid is generally recognized as safe by the FDA. However, there's a chance more research is needed.
Safe, huh? Well, I think Vladimir would disagree. Why was it on his desk anyway?
Right, well, Vladimir's unique habit he liked to do with his gum? He would dip it into a bag of citric acid so it could retain or reinvent the gum's flavor once its original taste died down too much. This way, he could continue chewing the same piece for pretty extended periods of time.
Okay, so Buddy really liked chewing gum. I get it. But sour powder doesn't really scream kablamo half your face is gone. Also, if it was a habit, I'm sure he did it pretty often, and obviously this had never happened before. Howard, does citric acid by itself have the ability to cause an explosion?
It does not. Symptoms like the ones you previously listed are possible. An excessively acidic sweetener, such as citric acid, may burn holes in mouth tissue, but it has never caused an explosion like the one case in question, nor could it. It does, however, have explosive properties if powdered or granular citric acid becomes airborne and is exposed to a spark. Therefore, when working with citric acid, it is important to prevent dust buildup.
Thank you, Howard. The only thing is, as far as anyone could tell, the powder remained within its bag and there was nothing in the room that could have acted as a spark source.
I'm sorry, no, back up. Did he just say mouth holes? How do you hear that an ingredient in our food causes mouth holes and just carry on with your day like nothing happened?
Oh yeah, well, there are a number of documented cases of food products with large amounts of artificially added citric acid, such as sour candy, actually burning holes in people's mouths. The candy with the most repeat offenses being warheads. For example, in 2018, Mary Thuluit of California posted photos of her grandson, Chase, to Facebook as a warning to her friends and followers. He had only one of the extreme sour candies, but it was enough to strip an entire layer of skin from the center of Chase's tongue. She ended the post with a plea for others. Please do not give these to your children. But he wasn't the only one to fall victim. Australian 4-year-old Willow Wright's innocent mistake turned into a sour nightmare when she got into her brother's candy stash. Willow quickly ate 10 warheads in secret while her mom, Christy, was working upstairs.
Whoa, she ate 10 of them? I'm barely able to handle one. I salute her and her bravery.
It's true, but I'm not sure it was a feat of bravery. I don't think she fully understood what she was doing, other than sneaking as much candy from her big brother as possible. And within minutes, Willow ran upstairs yelling to her mom that her tongue was in a lot of pain. She opened her mouth and revealed the startling state within. A large hole left on her tongue where the skin peeled off.
Holy smokes!
Christy called the doctor right away upon seeing it for herself. Unfortunately, there was nothing that could be done but use ice and pain medication while it healed naturally. Willow later revealed to reporters that, "It feels like my skin was coming off." Good question, Bean. The simple answer? Acid. These candies contain so much acid in order to give them their signature extreme sour taste, eating any more than one could be a bad idea.
Dang, so citric acid is bad. You think it caused so much burning in Vladimir's mouth that it just up and exploded everywhere?
Short answer? No. Citric acid was among the types of sweetening acids used in Warhead's ingredients, but it was not the only one. Among the citric acid was malic acid and ascorbic acid, but they are found in a wide array of sour candy, including sour Skittles and Sour Patch Kids, and people should use caution when consuming them, especially in large amounts. "We put the most malic acid as allowed by law," said a Warhead spokesman during an interview. Meanwhile, Jonathan Teo from the Dental Association of Australia said, Products with this level of acid or pH can cause chemical burns to cheeks and tongue. Aside from tongue burning, there's also a second side effect to our sour candy. It damages your teeth's enamel. Now, this is already the case with candies and sugar in general, but sour candies specifically have acid that can eat at enamel with the help of bacteria. And warheads in particular are so acidic, they have a similar pH level to hydrochloric acid. Warheads hard candies even have a warning label on their packaging that reads, "Eating multiple pieces within a short time period may cause temporary irritation to sensitive tongues and mouths."
Well, if that ain't the understatement of the century, how's about more like, may burn a hole in your tongue?
Indeed, the label doesn't quite cover the severity of the injuries that can take place. But getting back to Vladimir's case, if we can conclude that citric acid, which he would often dip his chewing gum into to prolong its taste, cannot cause explosions or serious harm on its own,
Then what could have caused his face to blow up? There must have been something else going on. Anything else on his desk that we should know about?
well, it seems as though there actually was something else present that might have been capable of causing such a terrible explosion. First, it's important to note that he was a chemistry student studying at the Kiev Polytechnic Institute, specifically in the electrochemical production department at the time of the incident. It turns out that along with citric acid, another white powdery substance was found on the scene. 100 grams of a highly explosive substance.
Finally, an actual answer.
Not quite. The explosive substance, no one knew what it was. But maybe he had a project due or a subject to research and wanted to work on it from the comfort of his own home and took the white, powered explosive substance with him to his house in a similar bag as he would keep his citric acid. So, when he grabbed a bag of white powder, opened it, dipped his gum in hopes of enhancing its flavor, and popped it in his mouth, it was too late when the truth was finally revealed. He dipped his gum in the wrong bag.
So, he dipped his gum into an unidentified explosive powder and put it in his mouth, chewed it, then bang?
Well, that's the theory. Except he likely knew what the substance was, as he would have had to obtain it, likely from school, and bring it home with some kind of clear intention.
Yeesh. Buddy should have really invested in a Sharpie.
In hindsight, that may have been a more wise choice. But accidents do happen, and unfortunately, this one ended in tragedy. Anybody could have mixed them up, said police spokeswoman Elvira. But something we all really want to know is, what on earth could the mystery substance have been? First of all, whatever it was would have to resemble citric acid enough to be mistaken for it. Explosive materials like TNT, RDX, and HMX all appear similar enough to citric acid to be mistaken for it, as they can also be white in color and without a distinct odor. But the likelihood of them being our culprits goes out the window with the fact that they are all powerful high explosives that are hard to find. It's not very likely that they were used or needed for Vlad's studies, even in lab work. During a discussion on the situation, Redditor Rue Threatening Me wagered $5 to their notion that the substance that Vladimir dipped his gum into was AgCNO, or rather, silver fulminate. The guess carries some weight, as it does appear the substance is a solid white powder and is extremely sensitive to friction, heat, and shock, which would all likely occur during chewing. And if it were to detonate, it would let out a loud bang, much like the one Vladimir's family heard.
So that's it then. Case closed.
Not quite. Due to how easily reactive silver fulminate is, it's not even recommended that it is kept in any type of storage, let alone a small bag for a chemistry student to take home. It is also classified as a primary explosive, making it very unlikely that he would have access to it as a student bound by what are hopefully pretty strict safety guidelines.
So if not that, then what the heck was this mystery powder he popped into his mouth?
Well, another substance that might likely be the cause of our dearly departed Vladimir's gum dipping mishap would be acetone peroxide, or TATP. It shares a similar enough appearance to be mistaken for citric acid, white and powdery, is highly explosive, and can be created pretty easily by just using common chemicals. And the most telling? Chemistry students and extremists have been known to experiment with it due to how relatively easy it is to produce. But it's reportedly illegal to create, possess, or use acetone peroxide in most countries, which means if it was the unidentified substance, then there is a possibility that Vladimir could have been using it with ill intentions. Acetone peroxide is known to be unstable and sensitive to shock, friction, and heat, which would help its case as being a dangerous thing to coat gum with before chewing, but doesn't explain how he was able to transport it from his university to his home. Unless he created it himself at home, that is, since, as we mentioned, it's not that difficult to create for someone who knows what they're doing. So we can't say with 100% certainty what the exact culprit of the explosion was, because authorities refused to send samples of it to be tested out of fears of a repeat explosion. And while forensic experts were sent to the scene, we couldn't find any reports identifying what they may have uncovered. Either way, it is a horrible turn of events that cost a young student their life.
Yeah, awful. But hey, at least chewing gum is safe, as long as you don't dip it in explosives.
Ew. If you enjoyed this video, then please go and hit the subscribe button. Just your one sub really helps. And check out this other video about a man who lost the entire lower half of his face. This time it wasn't from chewing explosive gum, but from too many energy drinks.
Do you enjoy ruining everything I love?